Aren't we? And then, you know what comes up Friday, man? It is going down the rematch. It is King Mo versus Rampage. Did you happen to catch their media call?
Read about it, and I loved it. I hope you loved... Well, there was a couple interesting points. What was cool and gangster was King Mo, and what was odd was Rampage saying that his coach had told him it was at 235 pounds.
Yeah, so I had a couple of takeaways. First off, I enjoyed it. I think that Rampage, as far as an entertainer, as a charismatic entertainer, is so underrated. I can tell you, parts of my career, people ask, everywhere I go, I get asked, well, who's a better talker, you or Conor? They're always comparing Conor and I. And I always think, well, you know, you guys are kind of leaving out the ringmaster there. You're leaving out Rampage. Rampage is funnier than hell. He's quick. He's got charisma. It's very hard to beat him in verbal warfare. You know, I've watched him turn the script on guys so many times in a brilliant way. And then King Mo, man, he was holding his own. And as far as that 235, King Mo was offered a fight, but they did not tell him against who. And right, we've talked about that many times. That's how Bellator preserves these fight announcements. They don't tell anybody, including the participants. So King Mo was offered a contract, and they told him it could be at heavyweight or it could be at 235. But wouldn't tell him who it was against. Mo's stance the whole time is, I fight at weight. I don't care what weight, but I fight at weights, and 235, to quote Mo, ain't no weight class, which is funnier than hell when he said that. 235 ain't no weight class. So he made it a heavyweight. So I found out it was Rampage, and Rampage just said, look, I beat you before, and I'll be the first to acknowledge it was controversial, but I'm going to come in weighing 260. And I thought that was a compelling line. Now, compelling in two ways. Rampage sees that as a benefit to him. I see that as a disadvantage to him. I just know when my weight gets heavy, I slow down a little bit. I get tired a little faster. If you can get on top of a guy, yeah, you can smother him a little easier. But that's kind of the only time that helps. If you end up on bottom, boy, it's hard to move. You end up on your feet, it's hard to be fast. But Rampage sees it as an advantage. I thought it was interesting. I was glad Rampage brought it up because it is a talking point.
Well, with a week, when they had that announcement, it was 4 or 5 days ago when they had that conference, and now we're a couple days before the fight. So if Rampage thought he had to make and it sounded like he had to make 285, and he finds out during the press conference when he said 260, that means he's 260. Right now. So he figured he was going to cut 25 pounds. That makes sense when you're big like that. My takeaway is Rampage thinks that maybe he's going to big brother Mo, and I don't see that happening. I see this being an advantage for Mo. I think Mo's going to win the fight. My question is, didn't they used to be buddies?
No, they never did. Those two never got it right. They were two charismatic fighters, but they always knew we're in the same weight class. No, they were never overly friendly even. They had some conversations that you might have seen, but that's where Rampage is so good. You know, he'll smile and pay you some kind of a compliment, and he'll get you to kind of come into that trap a little, and then he flipped the script on you. So maybe you only watched part of some of their interviews, but no, Page was never overly friendly. I think he always knew Mo and I are going to meet up.
Now...
And, you know, I agree with your assessment. I do see it as a disadvantage, but you have to trust the guy who is doing it. And Rampage was very sincere, at least in his belief. Now, I believed a few things, too, that turned out not to be true, so we'll see how this works out for him. But he was sincere in his belief that weight is going to help him. And Mo only goes about 211. You know, Mo looks humongous. He feels humongous. If you look on the scale, he's not humongous. He's not a huge guy. When he was wrestling, trying to make Olympic teams, it was at 96 kilograms, which converts to about 214 pounds. When he was wrestling in college, it was at 197. Before they changed the weight, it was at 190. You know, Mo was a guy that could have been a middleweight in fighting, should be a light heavyweight, but has competed so many times at heavyweight. And so many people just don't know what a challenge it is for Mo. He never gets credit for the fact that he is giving up so much weight. He is not as big as he looks. You see him on TV, he looks like a monster. You see him in person, he looks like a monster. You get him on a scale, Joel, he only weighs 211. It's 211 the right way. You know, Randy Couture was that same way. He was weighing 222 in his prime, winning heavyweight championships, but he looked and felt about 240. It was a strength deal. It was an explosive issue. Mo deserves a lot more credit because when he goes up to heavyweight, he's not a heavyweight, and people don't understand that. I mean, he just fought Crow Cop. Crow Cop was showing up about 250. devastating striker, devastating fire. Mo didn't say a word. If that's where the fight's at, that's where Mo's at.
Now, I've never met Mo. I'll tell you two cool things.
You've never met King Mo?
Never met him.
Oh, you love him.
But I'll tell you this. When he named himself King Mo all those years ago, I was like, oh, my God, he named himself King Mo. And it took, and I was listening to the press conference, and they said King Mo. That's beautiful. But I will tell you this. I was out, years ago, I was out at Randy's gym. And I was up, he's got that little sauna upstairs, and then there's a wrestling area.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was in the sauna, and Mo was getting wrestling rounds in. There was also a practice going on. There was I think it was a group of high school kids, 5, maybe 6, getting ready for a cadet, a nationals, something in the summertime. And within 20 minutes of Mo wrestling, he then started coaching the guys. He then started coaching the guys. He'd never met these kids before, and 20 minutes later, he was coaching them, and he was coaching them like he had known him forever. So that was the one and only time I ever saw him. But I thought that was really, really cool of him. I mean, he just took over. He took over and put him through a workout, put him through a wrestling practice.
Yeah, that is cool. And he is he's a wrestling guy. I've seen him do that. I've seen some other times where he had to go at 6 in the morning and work out with some high school kid. And I even asked him why. And he said, well, the guy asked me. And that was it. A kid had asked him for time. The only time he could do it was before school. Mo got up and went and did it. And it's a very interesting fight. I have to check my words a little bit carefuler than I normally would on this because I'm calling it. I will be there and part of the broadcast team, so I have a bit of a responsibility there to not just weigh in with the full assessment that I would like to give. But I do like this fight for a couple of reasons. One, I love to watch Mo. I love to watch Rampage. But secondly, I did not think that Rampage won that first fight. When that was over, not only did I not think he won, Rampage didn't think he won. He said that to Mo in the ring. He was cool about it. Everything was fine. They raised his hand, and now you got to sing a different tune. So to run this one back and do it again does make a lot of sense. Now, when you change the parameters, when you move it up a weight class, and now you're talking about a guy that weighed in alongside of you at the same weight that you did, which was 205 pounds, and now you're going to weigh in. One guy's claiming he's going to weigh in at 260. Mo will weigh in at 211 and with his clothes on, maybe as high as 213. It does add a component. That's the component that Conor took away when he fought Diaz in the second time. He said, I don't want any excuse. I want the exact same thing. But when you do change the component, it gives guys like you and I that need to talk and speculate and analyze. It does give us a little bit more room. I would normally look at a boxer from boxing times. What did you weigh in at? I can remember a time when Mike Tyson did a training camp. He was going to fight Lennox Lewis. He did his training camp in Hawaii. We all kind of just rolled our eyes and go, Mike, how much training are you going to get in Hawaii? And then he shows up. It's the heaviest he ever weighed in. He's sluggish, he's tired, and he gets KO'd. So fighters' weight does matter because it also represents the discipline that they showed getting ready for that match. When you're at heavyweight, you don't have to show that same discipline. A lot of guys making weight forces them as a byproduct to get in shape because now they got to get that extra run in. They got to get that run to get their weight down. That ups their cardio. So normally I would look at this in Rampage and just go, look, you're so big, it shows a lack of discipline. But Rampage spoke on that, and he said, no, it absolutely doesn't. I didn't want to show all the same discipline. That's true, but my body is better, bigger. We have to at least listen to him. The proof's going to be in the pudding. Friday night live, free, and only on Spike TV. But he claims that weight is going to help him. And I can't think of a time that Rampage has lied to us in the past. And that does change things.
The one thing about Rampage is I've watched almost all his fights, and I've watched him continue to fight and continue to compete no matter how tired he was, where he could have found a way out, and he chose to stay in there and continue to fight. And that is going to benefit him here because he is going to get tired. There's no way he doesn't get really tired at that weight. He's older, he's bigger, but he is tough. He will stay in the fight, in my opinion.
I fully agree with that. Rampage, even when he has not trained, it did not make any difference. He went as many rounds as he needed to go. He's never found that way out ever. Even in his last contest, he takes on the judo guy who was Olympic gold medalist. And I would argue that Page was not overly ready for that fight. But he went out and he stood his ground and he slugged it out for 15 minutes and he won. And a sharp Rampage probably would have finished that fight. But he does fight. He does not give up. And Mo knows that. But it's a very interesting match. It really is an interesting match. Their first fight was a lot of fun to watch. And it was controversial. It ended in a controversial decision. And I co-signed that. I was surprised with that decision. But now they're going to redo it. We've got the fighter, after we've already seen him fight, that we watched and go, well, Mo's the better fighter. Regardless of who won, Mo was the better fighter. But now he's got 55 more pounds. And with the way that Mo fights, you don't know if he's going to wrestle or he's going to box. I think that size will slow Page down on his feet. I think it will also make Page harder to get off of his feet if Mo should choose to wrestle. I just think that there's some talking points, and it really does weigh to this weight, and I don't think enough has been made of it. I think that's the telling factor. It's either one way or the other, man. It's either going to help him or it's going to hurt him. I'm talking about Rampage. Normally, it would hurt a guy, but Page weighed in on it. He had time to lose weight. He said he didn't want to lose weight. He wanted to be as big as he could. He's claiming he's coming at 260. I don't believe him. I think he'll come in under 250. I was also just with him not that long ago. That just wasn't a 260-pound guy. I think that a little of that was some mind games. He may even come in the 240s, but he's still sizably bigger. That's still 30 pounds.
As you were talking about that and thinking about Rampage's personality, he's known the whole time it was a heavyweight fight. There's no way he did not know it was a heavyweight fight.
Who are you talking about?
Rampage.
Rampage? Because he said he thought it was at 235.
Yeah, and he said his manager had been telling him it was, and he even busted him out on that conference last week.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, of course he knew. And
well, there's a couple of things there. Though, again, if you're going to speculate, Joel, don't forget there's two things at play there. The manager may have known a better and sharper and crisper Rampage is a smaller Rampage. And he may have just lied to him and said it's 235 because he knew, or at least he believed that would help him. But Rampage did sign the contract. The contracts aren't overly big. It would have been in black and white that it was at heavyweight. Plus, there was an announcement by Bellator that it was at heavyweight. That's when Mo made the statement, I fight in weight classes, and 235 ain't no weight class.
Well, also, Mo told them they announced it at heavyweight. It's on the poster at heavyweight. Your contract says heavyweight. You know it's heavyweight. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, he knows it's heavyweight. I was literally now just thinking about that he knows heavyweight.